let's look at the first scene of the final act of Macbeth. It really is quite a dramatic final act. There's lots of scenes in it. There's lots of momentum. Macbeth's holed up in the castle at Duncan, thinking, because he desperately wants to believe the witch's prophecies, that he'll be invulnerable or safe there. And then we get the scenes where Malcolm and Macduff's army, gathers around the castle and the siege begins. So it's quite an interesting and exciting ending to the play. There are, however, two scenes in this final act that really matter. And the first one of them is the first scene, because it's the scene which really not quite puts a full stop to Lady Macbeth's story, but certainly brings it close to the end. So this scene, Act 1, Scene 5, it's all about, I suppose, justice and the kind of Shakespeare's era, the Elizabethan era idea of justice. Lady Macbeth, at the beginning of the play, was a willing participant in a regicide. Okay? And you can't do that. The message of this play is, you cannot do that and expect to live happily ever after. Lady Macbeth knew that what she was helping her husband to do was wrong. That's why she said, she was contemptuous of his milk of human kindness. And that's why she said, come you spirits. And she wanted them to close off the access and passage to remorse, that no compunctious visitings of nature shake my fell purpose. Remember those words? My fell purpose. And I told you, fell means wicked or evil. She knew what she was going to do was wrong. But she had this idea that they could just do it and then, a little water clears us of this deed. How easy is it then? Remember that quote from Act 2, Scene 2? This idea that they could do this terrible thing and then just move on. And she was wrong. And as when Macbeth becomes king and becomes more and more lost in his paranoia and his mania, she becomes more and more isolated. And then she kind of disappears from the play. So she disappears from the play from the end of Act 3. She doesn't appear at all in Act 4. And now we see her in Act 5, Scene 1. In Act 5, Scene 1, she's broken. Psychologically broken. We see one of her servants, one of her ladies in waiting, and she's on stage with a doctor. And the two of them are looking at each other. Sorry, just looking for that phrase there. There we go. They're looking at each other and they're looking at Lady Macbeth, who appears sleepwalking. Now, to an Elizabethan audience, sleepwalking was evidence of a disturbed mind. And when Lady Macbeth enters, she enters carrying a candle. Now, this is really significant in terms of the imagery of the play. She carries the candle because she cannot bear the darkness. Now, don't forget, at the beginning of the play, both Lady Macbeth and Macbeth called on darkness to hide their crimes. But when we see her carrying the candle in this scene, this is a recognition of the terrible burden of guilt that she carries. So she can't really cope with that burden of guilt. It's not something that she's equipped to deal with. And where Macbeth was haunted by Banquo's ghost in the banquet scene, in the feast scene, Lady Macbeth is haunted by conscience. So she thought that she was strong enough to bury her conscience, to switch her conscience off, but she wasn't. I suppose the key thing though is that if she is haunted by conscience, if she is tortured by conscience, it's really important that we remember this. It means she has one. And if she has a conscience, then she's not evil. Now, whether that makes her, worse because she has a conscience and she knew what she was going to do was wrong and she did it anyway, that's up to you to decide. You can make your call on that. But this is really important. The fact that she is in possession of a conscience is an important aspect of her character. So there's a wonderful moment where she talks about cleaning her hands. I'll show you the quotes now. And we get this idea that she has been broken by her decisions in Act 1, Scene 5 and Scene 7 to help Macbeth kill the king. So here are the key quotes from the scene. First one, this is the lady in waiting speaking. Why, she has it by her continually, 'tis her command. So there you go. So the candle, the doctor says, where'd she get that candle from? The lady in waiting says she always has a candle with her because she can't stand the darkness. So, of course, this is emblematic of guilt, emblematic of fear, of what will come in the darkness. She's afraid. She knows she's going to be damned to hell. Probably, even though I don't think it should be, the most famous quote from Lady Macbeth in the whole play spoken in this scene. Out, damned spot, out I say. And then there's a little bit more and she goes on, she says, yet who would have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him? Now there she is, unconsciously confessing to regicide. And of course, when the doctor and the lady in waiting hear that, they're like, shit, we don't want to hear this. Because, if they hear that, Macbeth might kill them. But it's really, really important. She's has her hand and she's saying, out, which means go away. She's trying to clean it. Out, damned spot, out I say. Now, of course, there's so much to delve into there. First of all, there is no spot of blood. So it's metaphorical. So the spot of blood in her hand is a symbol of her guilty conscience. But really what's very important is when she says, damned spot. Because damned means you're going to hell. So the guilty conscience is evidence of the fact that she is certainly going to be damned for all eternity because she chose to participate in the murder of a king. And then there's even more that you have to consider as well. When she says, out, damned spot, out I say, we have this incredible moment of pathos, or of irony probably. Because when Macbeth, I referred to this earlier in this video, when Macbeth killed the king and he looked at his hand and he asked, will all great Neptune's oceans wash this blood clean from my hands? When he asked that question, she tried to reassure him by saying, oh, get over yourself. A little water clears us of this deed. How easy is it then? And of course, she was just trying to give him the stress. She was doing that thing that she always did at the start of the play, like telling him what she felt he needed to hear to get the job done. But isn't there a wonderful irony that she told him, just wash your hands, then forget about it. But no, you can't forget about it. That blood can never be washed away. That blood, which represents their guilty conscience and represents the fact that they're going to be damned, can never be washed away. There's a brilliant moment when she makes the comment, all the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Again, Macbeth is one of the richest of Shakespeare's plays in terms of imagery and symbolism. Like, what a beautiful, fantastic, clever use of symbolism. Arabia, the East, was associated with, in Shakespeare's time, with the production of cosmetics, with the production of perfumes. It's like saying all the oil in Saudi Arabia, right? It's like saying all the wheat in Ukraine, or a country associated with the production of vast amounts of materials. And she's saying there's not enough perfume in Arabia, in all of the world, all of the East, to sweeten this little hand, because what's on her hand stinks. Because what's on her hand is the blood of regicide, and it can never be cleaned. Brilliant scene, very simple but very important in Lady Macbeth's story, but also in the overall study of the play.